WNBA and the league's players union have held regular meetings since the sides agreed to a 30-day extension of the current CBA in late October. Sunday night marks the expiration, and the significant gap remains. So it don't sound like they're any closer, especially regarding the league's salary system going forward. Sources with knowledge of discussions told The Athletic. So they've been told straight up. They're far apart, and it's the salaries that...
Here's what's happening right now, and it's getting serious. The WNBA and the Players Union have been locked in negotiations for more than a month, and the tension keeps rising. Back in late October, both sides agreed to a 30-day extension to buy themselves extra time and avoid an immediate breakdown. That temporary deal, however, expires today. As of this moment, the clock has officially run out. According to a report released by the New York Times this morning, the two sides are still far apart. And when people say far, they mean it. There's no quiet breakthrough, no last-minute compromise waiting behind closed doors. Despite frequent meetings and a bargaining session held just yesterday, the gap remains wide and unresolved. The core issue is money, plain and simple. Specifically, the disagreement centers on how player pay will be structured in the future, and what that system will look like long-term. This isn't a small detail or a short-term dispute. It's about control, value, and how players are rewarded for the growth they help create. Right now, both sides are firmly planted in their positions. Neither group seems willing to blink first, and that's what makes this moment so important. What happens next could shape the league for years.
The WNBA has repeatedly proposed a system in which players' salaries are linked to a percentage of the revenue generated by the league. The league has sent a proposal at the end of October that would allow players on maximum level contracts to earn more than $1.1 million in total compensation, with that sum being made up of a combination of base salary believed to be around $800K to $850K per sources, and a revenue sharing component. Details of the revenue sharing element have not been publicized, and players remained frustrated by the league's proposal, which was reported on in mid-November, as it did not reflect their desires for an overhauled system and instead had a fixed base salary component.
Let's break this down clearly, because this is where the gap between the players and the league really shows. The Players Union has been very clear about what they want. They are asking for salaries to be tied directly to league revenue. This isn't a random idea they mentioned once and dropped. They've pushed it again and again. It's the same system the NBA uses, and from the players' point of view, it's only fair. When the league earns more money, the athletes automatically earn more too. Growth is shared. Everyone benefits together. Simple logic. Now compare that to what the league offered. In late October, the WNBA responded with a proposal that promised top players total compensation of more than $1.1 million. At first glance, that number sounds impressive. It grabs attention and looks like progress. But once you look closer, the picture changes. Only about $800,000 to $850,000 of that amount would be actual guaranteed salary. The rest comes from a revenue-sharing piece that hasn't been clearly explained. No one outside the negotiations knows how it works or when it pays out. That uncertainty is exactly what frustrates players. They weren't asking for higher numbers inside the same old system. They wanted a new structure built on transparency. What they got instead feels like a small upgrade with unanswered questions attached.
If the sides elect to not reach another extension, a work stoppage would still not take effect immediately. The sides would instead enter a period of status quo, which would keep working conditions the same and continue to allow players to use team facilities and receive medical benefits.
So what actually happens if both sides fail to reach an agreement by the end of today? This part matters because many fans assume everything instantly falls apart. That's not how it works. There is no immediate shutdown, no sudden lockout, and no games canceled the moment the deadline passes. Instead, the league moves into what's known as a status quo period. During this phase, daily life stays mostly normal. Players can still enter team facilities, follow training schedules, and prepare like usual. Access to medical staff continues. Health insurance remains active. From the outside, it almost looks like nothing has changed at all. The old agreement stays in place temporarily, even though it has technically expired. But here's where the tension creeps in. This period comes with no clear end date. There's no countdown timer or warning bell. At any moment, either the league or the players' union can decide talks have failed and announce a work stoppage. That could mean a lockout or a strike, depending on who makes the move. That uncertainty is what keeps everyone on edge. Players, owners, and fans are all waiting, knowing things could shift instantly without notice.
The sides could still agree to have another extension by Sunday's deadline. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Before the 2020 CBA was reached, the league and the players' union agreed to 2 extensions. A 60-day extension and another 2-week extension, which ran until mid-January when a new agreement was reached. On October 30th, the sides agreed to an initial 30-day extension, with the union requesting a condition that allowed it to terminate the extension within 48 hours' notice. Both sides agreed to allow the other to have a termination clause, and they subsequently continued to meet with neither side enacting it. Before the October 31 deadline, the league met virtually with team front office personnel to discuss logistics.
Here's what really happens if no agreement is reached by the end of today, because many people misunderstand this part. Missing the deadline does not mean everything instantly shuts down. There is no automatic lockout or strike the moment the clock runs out. Instead, both sides move into what's called a status quo period. During this phase, life goes on as usual. Players can still enter team facilities, work out, train with staff, and receive medical care. Health insurance stays active. Pay structures and daily operations continue exactly as if the old agreement never expired. On the surface, it looks calm and normal. But underneath that calm is serious tension. During this status quo window, either the league or the union can call for a work stoppage at any time. There's no fixed date, no warning countdown, just uncertainty hanging in the air. Everyone knows the pause could end suddenly. There's also history worth remembering. Before the 2020 agreement, both sides used multiple extensions. Talks dragged on for months past the original deadline before a deal finally came together in January. That could happen again. Another short extension might be announced to buy more time. What stands out, though, is preparation. The league has already discussed what a shutdown would look like behind closed doors. That doesn't mean it will happen, but it does show they're ready if talks collapse.
The league provided an update on the state of talks to its owners. I'm not saying board of governors. To its owners during league meetings in New York City on November 17th and 18th. You can cancel that woke crap. Other issues are also being negotiated in the addition to the salary framework, including formalizing the league-wide charter flight program and improving family planning benefits and health insurance. Sources said they have discussed formalizing benefits for retiring.
Here's what's happening right now, and it's a bigger deal than it might seem at first. The WNBA and the Players Union have been locked in negotiations for more than a month, going back and forth almost nonstop. They agreed to a short extension in late October to buy some extra time, but that extension expires today. And according to recent reporting, the two sides are still far apart. This isn't a small disagreement or a minor detail holding things up. The gap is real, and it centers mainly on money and how future player pay will work. The players want salaries tied directly to league revenue. So when the league earns more, players automatically share in that growth. The league, however, has offered higher contracts without fully changing the system, which hasn't satisfied the union. Because of that standoff, everyone is on edge. If no deal is reached today, the league enters a status quo period. That means teams keep operating normally for now, but either side can call a work stoppage at any moment. On top of salaries, talks also include travel standards, health benefits, retirement support, and free agency rules. Until an agreement is reached, the entire off-season calendar remains frozen, leaving players, teams, and fans waiting for clarity.
Owners actually wanted them to not play in leagues like Unrivaled. So that gets interesting. They didn't say anything about them not wanting to play in overseas leagues, but specifically Unrivaled, of which I wonder, is that because it's a league that is in the United States, that's a professional league, and yes, is a competing league. Technically, Project B is a competing league, but one's competing a little less than the other one because one is actually in the United States. And then you got Project B and all of this looming in the background with bigger salaries to offer. So that's another thing that's not being brought up here. It hasn't been brought up in a while. Where are the owners on the state of the players playing for other leagues now? Because as we heard that salaries may increase by up to 4 times, we also heard, well, it may be possible that the owners don't want.
There's a lot happening behind the scenes right now, and it's bigger than most fans realize. The WNBA and the Players Union are locked in intense negotiations, and time is quickly running out. They've already spent weeks going back and forth, and the temporary extension they agreed to is expiring today. Despite constant meetings and long discussions, the two sides are still far apart, especially when it comes to money and long-term control. The players want a modern system that ties pay directly to league revenue, so when the league grows, everyone benefits together. The league, however, is offering higher salaries without fully changing how the system works, which has left players frustrated and skeptical. It feels like a partial fix instead of real progress. If no agreement is reached, things don't shut down immediately. Instead, everything enters a tense waiting period where operations continue. But either side can stop work at any moment. That uncertainty hangs over the entire offseason. On top of pay issues, they're also negotiating travel standards, health benefits, retirement support, and player freedom. Expansion drafts, free agency, and the league calendar are all frozen until this is resolved. The future of the league is literally on pause, waiting for one deal to be finalized.
It's interesting that the owners, the league side, has already had talks about work stoppage and what would happen and etc. in the event of a work stoppage. It sounds to me like they're staring each other down right now. Only one side really has the money here. It's the owners, right? The league. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Right now, these negotiations have turned into a high-stakes staring contest. Both sides are waiting for the other to blink, but the balance of power is not equal. The league and its owners control the money. The players control the game itself, but they still rely on paychecks to support their lives. Owners can afford to wait. Players usually can't. The disagreement comes down to two very different ideas. Players want a system where their pay automatically rises as the league grows. If the WNBA makes more money, salaries increase without debate. It's clear, fair, and transparent. The league, however, wants to keep control by offering fixed salaries with optional revenue bonuses they manage. That keeps financial power in the owner's hands. This clash is happening at the worst possible moment. The WNBA finally has real momentum. Caitlin Clark brought in millions of new viewers. Arenas are fuller, merchandise is selling, and sponsors are paying attention. A work stoppage now could erase all of that overnight. Casual fans won't wait around, and media interest would fade fast. Both sides know what's at risk. That's why another short extension is likely. But eventually someone has to give. What they agree to next will shape the league's future for years to come.